You may notice something a little different on your radio dial when you drive into Tuscaloosa. WTUS, Welcome 103, a low-power FM radio station providing visitor information.
Welcome 103.3. Welcome 103.3.
Herzlich willkommen in Tuscaloosa. Sie hören Welcome 103.3 FM Radio.
Here's a traffic update from Welcome 103.3 FM.
WTUS Tuscaloosa. Welcome 103.3.
Since mid-2001, Robert Ratliff, Executive Director for the Tuscaloosa Convention and Visitors Bureau, has been working to establish a visitor information radio station in Tuscaloosa.
The idea for the station came about back in the mid-90s when I was in a town in Illinois called Kankakee, Illinois, and their convention bureau had a radio station that provided visitor information, traffic information as you were going through the city. So I came back to Tuscaloosa and I looked into that.
However, Welcome 103 isn't your typical music-playing radio station. There are no commercials, no talk, and no music? That might make you ask, why listen? Ratliff says you might just learn something about Tuscaloosa. With WTUS, there's no need for DJs. Ratliff says he creates much of the programming in his closet at home, which he soundproofed himself. He then loads it into Windows Media Player at the station on Jug Factory Road. The public service announcements and other programs run in a continuous loop until he changes the programming order the next day. However, Ratliff says he can break into the broadcast if necessary.
We will have the capability to interrupt programming if we did have a situation where there was an accident on the interstate and started rerouting, and I can go on live and relay that information, so that's going to be a real plus.
The station also carries severe weather bulletins, but its primary duty is to promote tourism in the Tuscaloosa area. Ratliff says he hopes it will draw attention to events and attractions that tend to get overshadowed by University of Alabama football.
I remember a few years ago we had put a billboard up at Exit 17 in Livingston, and it was promoting the Bama Bell. And a gentleman called our office about the riverboat, and his question was, "You mean you have a river?" So that told me there that there's so many people that come up and down that interstate system, but they don't get off the interstate in Tuscaloosa. There's so much more to be told, so we're able to tell more and tell a bigger story to those people that maybe did not stop at the Welcome Center and pick up a Tuscaloosa brochure.
The Tuscaloosa Convention and Visitors Bureau is nonprofit, so it operates the station without commercials. It funds the programming as a line item expense in its budget, and Ratliff says he's not interested in taking on advertisers to help cover the costs.
We've had a couple of people contact us wanting to be advertisers on the station. You know, how nice is that? But that's not the point of the station. That's not what we're looking at doing. You know, we are a nonprofit. That's not what this station is about. It's about providing traveler information, tourist information. We're not in the business of selling commercial time on it. That's just not what this particular station is about.
Welcome 103 is the only station of its kind in the state, but Ratliff says he believes it's a good idea to implement similar programs in other cities.
I think it's a very natural thing for rural areas that are trying to do tourism in these small rural areas to look at acquiring a low-power station, and then they can market their attractions and their points of interest to the traveling public.
Welcome 103 can be found at 103.3 FM, but because of the low signal strength, it can only be picked up within the Tuscaloosa area.